Welcome back, Nerd Squad. The Summers and Gray family has always been, well, a bit of a mess. There are tons of alternate future children between Scott and Jean, and on top of that, there is cloning to worry about. When Mr. Sinister is obsessed with you, apparently you can just expect your family tree to become, well, a little chaotic. However, this all started with one very important time-traveling infant, young Nathan Summers. Nathan was born to Jean's clone and Scott. He was then almost sacrificed to demons by his mother and later would be kidnapped and infected with the Techno Virus. In order to save his son, Scott agreed to send young Nathan to the future. And that child would stay there and grow up in the future to become Cable, a super soldier time cop whose own timeline is probably one of the most confusing, as it involves an unprecedented amount of time travel. Being a time traveler from the future but born in the past and stemming from a couple of the most powerful mutants in comics, Cable is an Omega level telepath and telekinetic mutant. But what else should we think of when it comes to Cable's power set? Today we're going to answer that question as we count down the top 10 superpowers you didn't know Cable had. If you love timey-wimey nonsense as much as I do, show that love by giving this video a thumbs up. And be sure to stick around till the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. The Techno Virus. Both a blessing and a curse. At one point, Cable was almost completely turned to metal and cybernetics because of the Techno Virus ravaging his body. While making him look like a kind of cool Terminator, which does seem awesome, we actually discovered in Earth X if the virus ever completely took hold of Cable, it would reduce him to a giant metal face. However, there are also some plus sides still to the Techno Virus that has ward within him, such as increased durability and strength. He's also even used the metallic parts of his body as a shield before. So while his metal form may all seem a downside, as going full cybernetic would mean death for him, the fact that the Techno Virus is part of the left side of his body making him a cyborg means that he also sees some benefits as well. Basically, Cable is best when he is part cyborg, but you know, not full cyborg. So it's like a power, but it's also a weakness, all at once. Number 9. Healing factor. While he might not be immortal, Cable is definitely durable. Whenever he is depowered, his healing factor seems to fade somewhat and we usually end up with an older Cable. But as long as his powers remain intact, not only can Cable stave off aging with his healing factor, but he can also be shot to smithereens and still manage to walk away. That's pretty cool. Number 8. Teleportation. You might think, wait a minute, but I know this about Cable already. He's a time traveler and his body, slide ability, and device obviously permit him to teleport throughout space and time. But did you know that Cable is also capable of doing this without his device? Yeah. When you think about it, teleportation could be seen as a telekinetic power or ability. After all, telekinesis is basically altering an object or molecules without physically touching it. You're moving it with your mind. And Cable is an Omega level telepath, so moving his molecules to a different space or time with just his mind should be possible. He actually likely doesn't need his device. In fact, Nate Gray, who is basically an alternate version of Cable without the Techno Virus, is capable of this. And I would argue that a Nathan Summers who didn't have to waste energy battling the Techno Virus with his telekinetic powers would be able to as well. After all, Nate Gray is like a version of Nate Summers with all the wrinkles ironed out. And if Jean were kind of more his mom. Number 7. Get out of jail free card. For a while in the Marvel Universe, it was believed that Cable was behind the death of Charles Xavier. It turned out that this wasn't true, however, when the culprit turned out to be Cable's evil clone, Strife. Which did help to explain why Cable looks so guilty. Having a near identical evil clone usually doesn't make you look good. Unless everyone knows that you have one. When you think about it, once the cat was out of the bag on that one and people knew about Strife, it almost seems like Cable could pretty much get away with whatever he wants. Strife is so similar that it would be easy for Cable to just commit dastardly deeds and blame it on Strife. Who farted? It wasn't me, it was Strife. Just look like me, cause, you know, is my evil clone. Number 6. Adamantium claws. In Ultimate X-Men, we get to see a Cable who becomes future Wolverine. No wonder those two are always at odds. Maybe it's because in the end they are just too similar. This version of Cable came with a healing factor and he has one arm complete with a set of adamantium claws. I'm not sure we can actually quite count him as Cable though, as he does go by James Howlett and his backstory resembles that of Logan's as well. But he looks more like Cable, and I really couldn't pass on the opportunity to share with you a version of Cable who has adamantium claws, because it's just so cool. You might be wondering how he has a healing factor but only one arm. This Cable is not plagued by the Techno Virus but lost his arm after having his healing factor stolen by Apocalypse, so he couldn't regenerate it when Apocalypse ripped it off. Number 5. Illusion creation. While Nathan Summers has become a force to be reckoned with in his own right, I feel like people often forget where he came from. While he has the Techno Virus and time travel and a lot of his own stuff going on, he is still the biological son of Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, and Madeline Pryor, Jean's clone. However, beyond that, Jean has also had her memories altered so that she actually thought of baby Nate as her own child, and when she and Scott reunited, they even raised him together for a time. And then they also kind of continue to do so in the future. At least, both of their consciousnesses did. What is the plural of consciousness anyways? Let me know in the comments, guys. In essence, Jean Grey is also basically his foster mother, so it shouldn't be surprising that he's capable of some of the most powerful feats that his mom also is capable of. One thing that they both seem to be capable of is creating illusions. Cables almost appear holographic in nature, and he can use this to alter his appearance or make it appear like objects or people are there when they are not. He's even used it to make people see multiple things, different things, all at once. Telepathic illusions. Number 4. Force fields. Being as powerful of a telekinetic as Nathan Summers is, he can also create powerful force fields. He can use these fields to shield himself or others and can even control the shape and size of them very, very precisely, even keeping one tight against himself, tracing his own shape with the force field so that you would likely not even notice it. When you add this to the general durability granted to him by his cybernetic techno organic virus affected half, he has become almost unstoppable. Almost. Number 3. Can kill his own consciousness. When Red Skull once threatened to take over his mind using Quicksilver, both heroes had worked together on the Unity division. When Quicksilver attempted to use Red Skull's influence to violate and control Cable's mind, rather than surrender, Cable simply just wiped his mind free of his own consciousness. Because apparently that's a thing he can do. It's a strange but useful power in this one coincidence. And an impressive and brave feat, to be honest, because of course, without a consciousness, Nathan was left in a permanent coma. Until Synapse was able to use her brainwave manipulation abilities to restore Cable's consciousness to him, in essence healing him and waking him up from his coma. So it ended up being, not that permanent. Number 2. Precognition. Cable has been depowered, repowered, healed, and infected a number of times throughout his very confusing timeline. But did you know that he has also had his powers not just vanish, but also change? In the Cable and X-Force series, Hope Summer realizes that her future self has messed with her father, Cable's powers, and ends up giving him post-apocalyptic predictions as a result, that also happen to be killing him, as his powers are destabilizing and his brain is, well, it's basically overloading. Fortunately, this ability only continues to last for a while, as past Hope aims to make things right and fix her father by stabbing him in the head. Number 1. Change size. When it comes to Cable, he really can take his powers to the next level, proving once again just how powerful of a telekinetic he really is. We see in the Soldier X series that it appears he can even use his ability to alter his size, becoming giant. And if you thought a regular size Cable was insanely powerful and strong, just imagine what he could do in a giant form. It's unsurprising that people flee in terror when they see him as a giant. I mean, he's already deezed, that's like a million times deezed. Too much muscle, too much muscle. Thanks for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you found this list informative and learned some new abilities that Cable has possessed. Who is your favorite time traveling superhero? If you could travel to any time, which one would it be? Who do you like better, Nate Grey or Nathan Summers? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Morbius's trailer explained. Jack comments, remember when he had suction cups on his hand to drink plasma? Oh my goodness, do I. Good old Spidey cartoons for the win. Can't scare the children now, can we? Gotta call it plasma. Fortunately, it looks like the film won't be pulling any punches when it comes to all the blood drinking that Morbius normally does in the comics. Psycho Concrete Sledge says, hope Leto's Morbius is better than his Joker. I mean, I think Jared Leto suits the character of Morbius better than the Joker, so my fingers are crossed that it just all works out and that he'll rock it. Also, this is Marvel, and I honestly, I just have more faith in them when it comes to live action films and shows. Just gonna put that out there. Think they've earned some trust. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below to have your questions answered and your thoughts shouted out at the end of a future list. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. You stay nerdy, YouTube. You might be wondering how he has a healing You might also be wondering, this Cable is not plagued by the Techno Virus, but lost his arm after having his healing factor stripped from him by a You might be wondering how he has a healing factor but only one arm. This Cable, and then they also kind of continue to do so in the future.